Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Getting caught up with Gotham, season 2, episodes 8 and 9. Tonight's the night and a bitter pill to swallow. Francis, Alonso. Okay, so stuff is going down. First, we have the big Barbara climax for now, because they're not killing her.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. She plays that crazed ex-girlfriend way too good to kill her off, I think, at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. So we wind up with the whole follow me, I have something to show you ambush.
Yeah.
Which I think, I kind of feel like this whole season has been about, let's get these young raw recruits from the academy and we're going to make them into our special task force and then we're going to kill them one by one.
I know, and then I don't want to jump ahead to the next episode, but again, it just seems like these new recruits that we bring in and these new personnel that's going to lead the police force are just getting the rough end of the stick.
Yeah, they're all red
shirts.
They're
getting killed. It's like, who knows? But what I do like about, as you mentioned there, I don't want to see Barbara killed off because it poses an intriguing storyline about Golden. Like, whether or not he's playing into her game like he said he was, she's bringing out a dark side of him. And that's when, in the past season, that's where I felt it really took an interesting turn, because when Jim had to actually do some unethical things to get ahead, that's where I really liked his character development, because as much as I think he's a good actor, and I think he's doing a good job at it, I really like when he's put into situations where he needs to take the darker route, where he needs to get his hands plunged into the filth, as said in The Dark Knight, but to try and get himself ahead. And she does seem to bring out this side in him that he is kind of fighting against, as we see in the next episode.
True. And I think, there's kind of a history with Gordon where it's a relatively recent phenomenon in the comics, and they sort of acknowledge that for a guy to achieve his position at Gotham PD, as generally upright as he is, working in that kind of a cesspool requires the occasional ethical lapse.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
And so I think it's interesting how they're able to loop that in without making him all one way or the other. Like, we don't get a lot of shades of gray in TV cops, or at least we didn't until the last decade or so.
Yeah,
and so that's certainly happening in this case, which for a comic book show is, that's some interesting storytelling.
Can we get on to my favorite part of the last couple of episodes, is the blossoming bromance of Enigma and the Penguin.
Oh, yes.
So there was the specific moment in episode 9 where Enigma was stating to Penguin, who we've seen to be easily our most intriguing antagonist throughout, because he seems to be, one, ruthless at times and willing to do and say anything to get himself in and out of situations, but as Enigma was saying, he actually posed an interesting question. Is like, now he has literally nothing to lose. So what can we expect from him now? What can we
unfettered.
expect? We've seen him go to all different depths of evil. So now when he's lost that one person that he had held close to him, the only person that actually looked to him as something different than a monster, now he's lost that. So he can only
now he can be that monster.
Yeah, exactly.
He can be completely soulless.
And what about, like, we talk about this every episode, but it seems like they are pushing that boundary of the violence that they are allowed to show. Like, they're going all in with the blood and guts. Like, it's like the cannibal that we've recently had, who just likes to tear off people's ear. Like,
Eduardo Flamingo.
Yes.
Let's get that name right.
Eduardo
Played
Flamingo.
by Raul Castillo from Looking, by the way. So this episode, it was a What the Flick reunion. We had Richie from Looking and Missy from Doctor Who. All in the John Wick Assassins Club.
That's what it looked like, and that's what I was saying. Is like, I was thinking, okay, when you're introduced with a character like this, it's like, how far can you go on Fox at this time?
At 8 o'clock.
At 8 o'clock. And they did.
Pretty far, as it turns out.
The answer is like they would give Netflix a run for their money with that.
Yeah,
like
it's not Hannibal, but it's skirting close to that, for sure.
And I think that was at the moment of the climax between Gordon fighting him. That's when you really seen Gordon's side. And I thought, like, for a moment, I'm thinking to myself, like, he's never really going to go that far. He's not going to kill someone, like, at that moment. But to be honest, watching the show, at that moment, I did question how far he would go.
Sure, yeah. And that's good storytelling, where even if they wind up sort of taking the relatively safer route, they at least you're at least able to entertain the notion that maybe they won't.
Yeah, exactly.
That maybe they'll take it into a darker place. Young Bruce.
Oh, young Bruce.
Oh, young Bruce. I mean, I get it. I understand that he's driven by this obsession, and he feels like this guy was dangling it in front of him,
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, listen to Alfred. He knows what's up.
Is it not just the most the funniest part is when you get a Selena come in and say that someone else is a bad egg? She's like,
Yes.
You don't want to go near her. That she's a bad egg. And I'm like, kettle pot. I don't know what's
Well,
going on.
it takes one to know one.
Yeah, exactly.
By the same token, And again, I love the Doctor.
Yeah.
She is. I love in all the stuff with Barbara how she's all like, oh yeah, I know he killed a guy.
Exactly.
We talked about it. We have no secrets. Like yes, adult relationship.
Yeah,
That's how you do it.
And because she does show the signs of questioning, what lengths Jim will go to try and get ahead. So she is questioning that, but as you mentioned, she shows like a clear, admirable strength to be able to stay with Jim at some of these times, especially when you've got someone as crazed as she is. And she's so open about it. Jim constantly will try and give her the benefit of the doubt. He'll follow her into the church because he thinks, okay, this might work. Or he'll follow her into all these
death traps.
All these death traps. And she's like, she's the devil. Like Jim, she's the devil. And he's like, well, we're still going back and forth.
She's devilish.
She's definitely got her flaws, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, she's bananas.
Yeah, she is.
I also, oh wait, it just flew out of my head. It was a vamp for a second. It'll come back to me.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think. Well, that's what I was going to move from back to Bruce and how that, like, do you not know how these things work, Bruce? Like, if you agree to Alfred to come back so that he can be your guardian, like, you never, like, he keeps trying to fight him again. You can't tell me what to do. Well, you did tell me I could. So technically I can.
Totally. No, I remember what I was going to say now. This season, I think they've clearly decided that it makes more sense to try and have a villain arc rather than keep popping out new weirdos every week. Yeah. So I think, even though I don't love Galavan as a character, I at least like the consistency and I like his long con, if you will, as far as what he's trying to accomplish. And then you've also got, how does that dovetail with Penguin's plans? And then how does Nigma figure into all this? And how does Nigma start coming into his own as a full-bore psychopath?
I think that the show definitely found itself and learned from its mistakes last year. There was times at this season where they started to jump back and forth. We didn't have a balloon man, but we did have some similar traits to that. But we all agreed last season when the show really found itself was when they linked Maroni with Falcone, with Penguin, with Fish. Like, we had all these different moving pieces that somehow cohesively affected one another at one point. And that's where I definitely believe this season, as it started, we didn't really... I agree, Galvan as a character I wasn't sold on, but the more that he continues to work from inside the system and he had that kind of golden boy image that he was viewed from the government as a whole, I like that idea because it's something so intriguing to me as someone fighting the crime from inside, or someone causing crime from inside and pushing it outwards and working with people like Penguin.
And I think it's also the notion of, rather than make this the young Bruce Wayne Chronicles, the show's called Gotham. Like, let's look into the city and the machinations therein and the history of it. So you've got this whole long-standing beef between Galavan and the Waynes. You've got, the kind of the stuff that's going on at Wayne Enterprises. You've got the other kind of things that are happening within the veneer of this city that is so rotten to the core. That makes for an interesting story, and I think that can be pursued in a way that prevents them from having to be like, here's the balloon guy, or here's here's this guy might be Joker, that sort of stuff.
Well, the idea is that they're trying to pave that pathway so that when the Batman, I imagine, does come into the scene, like, he's not coming into a city that suddenly just becomes crazed as soon as they see a masked vigilante come around to save everyone. You have to have people to save at the first point. And Gotham has always been known as that city that's had its flaws. And Batman, of course, coming in to try and assist them would bring out more craziness as soon as he emerges forth. But I wanted to finish on the last point. It seems like the crazed monk-looking people are as ruthless as those. It's led by Galavan's father, I believe.
That was my impression.
Yeah, so it comes out. Again, just like, what I do like about it is they're not... Sometimes in a show like this, it's a network television show, is they'll often spare how ruthless some of these criminals are. But at this show, they don't. Like, it's no expense. They leave very little loose ends. They consistently like poor policeman who wanders across them, killed in an instant. And I think that poses a question to them and what you're expecting Jim Gordon to have to do. It seems like of the criminals we've seen, these guys are the most ruthless. They'll stop at nothing to try and get what they want.
And you get stakes.
Yes, exactly. So it's interesting.
All right. So yeah, so things are going apace here on Gotham. We will not be here next week for Thanksgiving, and I don't know if Gotham will be here next week for Thanksgiving, frankly. So anyway, have a good week, and we'll catch you guys when we get back. And Bibbs, feel better.